So this is a Too Hot to Handle that we did on live stream a couple weeks ago. It was a really nice smooth run for us, and I'm going to be doing a tutorial right here on the live stream. So before you step into this raid, you want to make sure that probably on a more serious tune. This is not a casual kind of a raid. And by the way, anybody has questions at any point, let me know. And this is a raid that is still, like I said, it's very demanding for us still. I'm not the expert at this raid. I'm going to be explaining it the best that I know how. This raid's only been out since May, and I'm sure as time goes by that there'll be new strategies that develop, maybe new information coming to light, those kinds of things. So I'm just going to do my best at explaining it for you guys. So this is not a casual kind of a raid. This is DDO's most challenging raid, and it is largely a DPS check. Like, you really need to have high DPS for this raid, because if you don't have high DPS, it's going to take the beatdown of the boss is going to take even longer, and there's never-ending trash spawns. And so the longer you take to beat down the boss, the more trash you're going to get, and this is a kind of a raid that cascades out of control very, very quickly. This is the kind of a raid, like, maybe for those of you who are familiar with Hound of Zoriat, like way back in the day, or maybe even Mark of Death back in the day, like, things can seem to be going just fine, and then all of a sudden, like 10 seconds later, it's a wipe. Because it just, like I said, just cascades out of control, and really, really quickly. So the faster you can beat the boss down, the less trash you have to deal with, and the trash is part of a big part of what overwhelms groups. And I'll explain some of those mechanics when we get to it. There's a hell of a lot of fire damage in this raid, so you want to make sure you have not only a serious tune with a decent amount of hit points, that can cover a role like healer or trash killing or DPS. Those are the big roles. Clerics are great because you can turn a lot of the mobs in here, and if you have Sunburst, like on a Druid, for example, or another Divine, that's great too, because a lot of the mobs in here can be insta-killed with Sunburst. But fire absorption is really important. You can twist in Energy Sheath Fire from the Draconic Incarnation tree. It's tier 1 twist. You can also have fire absorption gear as well, so you can benefit from both, twisting in Energy Sheath and having a fire absorption. Not just fire resistance, but fire absorption. So here, you talk to the main here to get things started, and we like to send in a turning cleric first. In this case, Maniac Boy is going to run in there, and he's just going to go turn all this trash. See, there's a bunch of Forge Wraiths down there. He's flying in there, and he's going to turn them all. And ideally, he'll be able to turn all the little ones, and we are only left with the Forge Wraith Giant, as we are here. Okay? Now, the Forge Wraiths in this raid have a unique mechanic that you don't see anywhere else in Sharn. And that is that, well, there's 3 tiers of them. There's like your basic Forge Wraith, and then there's your upgrade orange name, and then there's your Forge Wraith Giant red name. If you kill a Forge Wraith near another Forge Wraith, the remaining Forge Wraiths will evolve to a tougher version. So if you have a yellow basic one, a yellow name basic one, and you kill another Forge Wraith near it, the yellow one becomes an orange name one, and it's even tougher. Here you want to kill all the trash mobs really quickly. If the trash mobs run into the lava there, then they will turn into Forge Wraiths. And that's a mechanic we see later in the raid as well. So if you kill a Forge Wraith near a yellow name, it becomes an orange name, it becomes tougher. If you kill a Forge Wraith near an orange name, it becomes the Forge Wraith Giant, a red name, even tougher still. So as you can imagine, if you're not really careful, it's too hot to handle on normal. Yep, Millie? And this is a replay that I'm explaining how to do it. So if you're not careful about killing trash, what you can have is like a bunch of Forge Wraiths that just evolve out of control. And if you get too many Forge Wraith Giants, forget about it. And we've, in my guild runs, we've kind of basically said, like, if we get 3 Forge Wraith Giants, like, we just need to start over. This raid's only about 15 minutes. So it's not a big deal to just reset it. You know, it's not an hour-long raid or something. Like, you know, if you're going to fail, you're probably going to fail pretty quickly, and if you do fail, you didn't waste a hell of a lot of time. So here, unfortunately, the DDO developers still haven't learned to not put shrines next to a doorway. You know, harken back to, you know, Tower of Despair, right, where they put the portal to part 3 right next to the shrine. So here, it's really easy to click into the raid by accident. So be careful when you're shrining, and then we always like to say, you know, just go down to the ramp like you see everybody here after you're done shrining, and we'll buff up there. That way you're far enough away you don't accidentally click into the raid, and here you can do all your buffs and stuff, and then the next part is going to be the main part of the raid. And the first part was just, you know, killing some trash, and it's basically getting used to the two mechanics. One, killing Forge Wraiths next to other Forge Wraiths makes them stronger. And by the way, if you kill a Forge Wraith next to a Forge Wraith Giant, it will heal the Forge Wraith Giant to full. It doesn't evolve beyond a Forge Wraith Giant, it just heals it to full. So, you know, it can be really frustrating. You're sitting there and you're beating down a Forge Wraith Giant, and then somebody, you know, insta-kills a Forge Wraith near it, and then that Giant is fully healed. So that's just... So it requires some coordination, and you don't want to just go killing Forge Wraiths all willy-nilly. So here we're getting buffed up, and the boss of the raid is a Forge Wraith Giant. Oh, and the other mechanic is, you know, when the fleshy trash mobs hit lava, they become Forge Wraiths. From a lore perspective, Forge Wraiths are like the souls of those who died in lava or died in fire or something like that. So we're passing out deadlies, we're getting all buffed up and stuff, and assigning roles. So you do want to have a tank. You want to have like 2 to 4 trash killers, and then you want to have like 1 or 2 healers. So I'm going to pause the video here for a moment, and let me see if I can pause it. Okay, there, that's a better view. So the first task that you got to do is that there are these banks of levers on each side. It's 6 levers, and there's 4 sets of those. There's 2 on the right and 2 on the left. And they're all Roman numeraled. Okay? So Roman numeral 1 and 2 are on the right, like you can see on the center console here, and 3 and 4 on the left. Okay, but they're over here. But what we're seeing here on the center console is the solution to these little lever puzzle things. Okay, so what this is saying is like the solution to lever puzzle 1, see the Roman numeral 1 here, is red, blue, blue, red, yellow, yellow. It's always combinations of red, blue, yellow, and green. This down here is saying the solution to lever puzzle number 2 is red, yellow, red, blue, blue. So what we like to do is just like in party chat, you type in like whatever number that is, 1 equals, you know, RBBR YY. You know, the solution for, you know, abbreviation for red, blue, blue, red, yellow, yellow. That way, if you go down or something, you know, somebody needs to cover your lever, the solution's right there in chat. They don't have to run over here to the center console to get the solution. In the event, here's the solution to the puzzles. So 1 and 2 is listed here, and on the other side of the panel, which you can't see right now, is the solutions for 3 and 4. So I'll be doing the levers in this video replay. And you want to have people assigned to these levers. You want to have typically a different person assigned to each lever, although a person who's quick can definitely do 2. So in this case, I'm doing lever puzzle number 2. Okay. And I'm pausing it again, as you can see right here. See Roman numeral 1, that's lever puzzle station 1. And Roman numeral 2 above, this is lever puzzle 2. And then on the other side that you can't see behind me is 3 and 4. Okay? So I'm going to run over here and put in that solution that I got from the center console. And you can see I wrote it into party chat. Red, yellow, red, blue, red, blue. Okay? Now, the shit thing about this lever puzzle is that, you know, it looks like it ought to be like the lever controls the crystal right in front of it, right? There's 6 levers and 6 crystals. But no. it's every lever controls like sort of a randomly assigned, well, it's not random, but it basically like lever 1 controls one of the crystals. It's not the first crystal. It's like, crystal 4, and lever 2 controls crystal 1, and lever 3 controls crystal 6, or whatever. It's all jumbled up. So the way that I like to do it is and the way that we do it in our guild runs is just pull the first lever and look to see whatever crystal that toggles. And then keep toggling it until that gets you the color that you want. Once that crystal is the color that you want, then move to the next lever. Pull it and notice which one gets toggled, and then just keep pulling that lever until that crystal is the color you want. And you just keep going down until they're all the color that you want. And by the way, when they start, they look red, but that's not red. That's like off, so it's a little bit confusing. Don't confuse the off color with red. If red is what you want, you have to pull the levers until it becomes red, until it lights up red. Also, you don't have to wait for the lever animation to complete before you pull it again. You can actually just sit there and rapidly click the lever. Even though it might still be animating, you can just rapidly click the lever and it will cycle through the colors. Okay? Once you get the combination the way that you want it, you get the combination set to the solution, then you have to pull this 7th lever on the right. See this sideways lever? And that will register the combination. Now, if the combination is that you registered is correct, there's another, you can barely see it, but at the top of the screen you can just see the bottom of like a larger crystal. That will turn green when you pull that lever. Regardless of whether you have it correct or not, it will turn green for a couple seconds. If you did it correctly, it will stay green. But if you did it incorrectly, it will then turn red. So it's, if people who are new to this, they'll look at that thing real quick and they're like, oh, it turned green, I'm good. And they turn their back, not realizing like, oh, maybe they messed it up. They didn't see that it turned red again. So make sure that you wait a few seconds and that you got it correct. So wait for that crystal to not only turn green, but stay green. If you got it wrong, after a few seconds, it'll turn red. Also, you'll notice that there's a trap box on the right of this bank. And there's one of those on every one of the lever puzzles is the same in terms of like the gist of it. It might not be that the lever that, if lever 1 controls the 4th crystal here, that might not be the same on the other side. I'm not really sure. Doesn't really matter. If somebody does this trap box, it will automatically complete this puzzle, but you still have to pull the 7th lever on the right to register it. So if you're a person doing these trap boxes to auto-complete the puzzles, make sure that you don't forget to register the solution by pulling this sideways lever. Now, you can only auto-solve it using a trapper once for each of the puzzles. So there's actually 3 rounds that these lever puzzles have to be done. So what groups are typically going to do is wait till the 3rd round when you're furthest into the raid and things might be a little bit more, chaotic. You just send your trapper up here for that 3rd round and have the trapper do it for that 3rd round. And have people doing the levers proper for the first 2 rounds. Okay, I'm going to start the video again. And so I note I pulled the first one. I see that the second one turned green. So now I'm going to keep pulling it until it turns yellow, which is what I want. Once I got it yellow, I pulled the next lever. And I noticed that the 5th crystal is changing. See, that's red now, different than off. Off looks red, but you want to make sure that if you're going for red, that you actually pull the lever until it's red. There's some forge race that are spawning throughout this process, so you want to have people, everybody else should be working on trash. Remember not to kill forge race next to other forge race. Once I got the solution the way that I wanted it, see, I have my solution here, red, yellow, red, blue, red, blue, red, yellow, red, blue, red, blue. I pull the lever on the side, the top crystal turns green, and I just wait a few seconds to make sure that it stays green. Yes, it's staying green, good to go. Okay, so there's all the solutions at this center panel. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and now you can see the other levers on the other side. There's bank 3, see the Roman numeral 3 above there, and the fourth bank is, you can't really see the Roman numeral from this angle, but trust me, it's there. You'll also see there's 9 other signal crystals here in the middle of the panel. By the way, there is a stuck spot right here next to Nava, the chief engineer. If you get between the chief engineer and the panel, it's a stuck spot. I mean, how stupid is that, right? But you will get stuck there, so be careful. So these 9, and they're labeled Roman numeral 1 through 9, has nothing to do with these levers up top. Those have to do with additional lever puzzles that are down below that I will be explaining when we get there. But basically, these crystals will always be green or red, telling you if those have been solved or not. If they're green, that corresponds to a coolant tank, which is Roman numeraled 1 through 9 down below. There are 9 coolant tanks below this platform. If the signal crystal is green, that's telling you that coolant tank is done. If it's red, that means those levers are not done. Right now, we don't have to worry about that in this stage of the raid. That's only after the first stage and after the second stage that we have to do those levers. Now, I'd never really even bother looking at these because there are crystals down there. When you're doing the lever puzzles, the levers down below, there's a crystal right there that's going to be red or green that you can plainly see when you're down below if it's, you know, solved or not. So I have not found that these crystals up here are helpful. I never even bother looking at them because, like I said, I can tell from down below if they're solved or not. But whatever, I'm just letting you know that that's what these crystals are for. Okay, I'm going to continue the video. And so you can see number 4 over here is done. That's green. Number 3 over here is not done. That crystal is red. 1 and 2 are done. So here we're waiting for the puzzler over here to finish number 3. Everybody else is just up top, you know, killing trash as it spawns. Okay, we got a message, levers and gears locked into place, blah, blah, blah. That means all the puzzles are done up top and the boss is about to spawn. So here, notice we have the melee group on the right and the tank is over on the left. And if the tank is far enough over on the left, on the side, it turns the boss, and I'm told that you can actually get sneak attack damage if you're sort of flanking them on the right. Also, you want to make very sure, be very careful that you're getting damage numbers. So kind of like, you know, if you fought Loth, you know, you got to be in a certain distance from the boss, otherwise you might not actually be hitting the boss. Okay? So if you're part of the melee group, make sure you're getting damage numbers. Very, very important. It's very easy to swing your weapon and you're not even realize you're not even hitting them. Okay? Now, everybody, he does a knockdown effect. I'm pausing the video. He's doing a knockdown effect there. Everybody needs to be close to the boss. So you see right here we're all bunched up. So even range tunes, you don't want to be further back. Because if you're further back, if you're out of his melee reach, then he tends to do ranged attacks on you, and they're pretty damn painful. So even if you're a ranged tune, you want to stay fairly close to him and not be, you know, far away. And then if you're like maybe like a healer or a trash person, what you don't want to do is hang out like out on the outside of the melee group, like over here. You want to be sort of on the inside of the melee group, because there are these skulls that you're going to see. They're going to spawn out over the lava on the left and right. And if you're kind of on the outside of the melee group, then what's going to happen is when those floating skulls spawn, they're going to aggro on you right away, and their ranged attacks hurt. So be on the inside of the melee group so that you don't get those skulls aggro right away. You know, if they hit the melee group, that's okay, because, you know, hopefully you have a healing wall or a healer, you know, focusing on them. You know, you don't want your range tunes to be on the outside, or your casters to be on the outside getting that initial aggro of the skulls. In this particular run, I'm on trash duty, so I'm just hanging out kind of in the middle. But you can see how, like, the casters here, there's the healer, then just one of the caster trash killers, they're kind of more on the inside of the melee group as opposed to being out here on the right. So the boss is vulnerable to cold, especially, so, do lots of cold damage to him. There's a healing wall up on the main group. That's great. There's those skulls. They can be insta-killed with Sunburst. You can see I just insta-killed some there with my Sunburst. And they'll be up top here too. They'll start wandering around if you don't kill them right away. So Sunburst is really, really great for those skulls. Those skulls are really painful. They do a lot of damage. This raid is definitely overbearing on normal, in my opinion, that things do way too much damage for what ought to be considered normal difficulty. Okay, so now I'm going up top, and I've got to do the levers again. Now that, oh, I'm sorry, the boss is still up. Yeah, okay, so we had a message that trash spawned. So fleshies will spawn out of, there's a, I'm having a better view. That's not so, let me just back it up a little bit here. So right there, Forge reach out, you feel a momentary urge, leap in the lava. Come, echoes the giant's voice. Come to us, only fire can purify this city. So that's the tell that trash is going to spawn. So you're going to get fleshies that spawn out of these like elevators in the back. And I'm going to pause it again when I turn. Okay, so there's like an elevator back there, and there's one in the center as well, and there's one on the other side. There's like an elevator here and one over there. So this is where trash is going to spawn out of, these 3 spots down below. So people who are assigned to trash duty want to kill that stuff as fast as possible. It doesn't have a lot of hit points. It can be even someone like me on my Caster Druid Quasi-Tank on trash duty, like I can kill these pretty easily, even though I'm not like a high DPS toon. They can be insta-killed. They're just fleshies. You can use Finger of Death. You can use any kind of insta-kill. You can DPS them. They die pretty quickly. In addition to these 3 spots down below, they're also going to spawn up top and run. And what they do is when they first spawn, they're kind of walking towards the lava, but after a few seconds, they'll run towards the lava. And when they hit the lava, they turn to Forge Wraiths. So the goal here is you want to kill them before they hit the lava. And like I said, they're literally running towards the lava, so it can be hard to hit them. If you throw a raise spell and you're, at their side, they can easily run out of that. So make sure you're throwing spells that will hit them and won't miss because they're moving. So remember earlier I said this raid cascades out of control really quickly. And one of the ways that can happen is if people aren't covering the trash and all that trash gets to the lava and all of a sudden you have a bunch of Forge Wraiths. Now you got a bunch of Forge Wraiths running around, and if people are killing individual Forge Wraiths near other Forge Wraiths, now those remaining Forge Wraiths evolve into orange names and red names, and all of a sudden, cats and dogs are sleeping together, and it's anarchy. So kill the trash as fast as possible. So in addition to these 3 spots down below, they will also spawn up top and drop down from the balcony right about here. And by the time they drop down, they're already running, and they're already halfway to the lava, right? So you want to make sure that you know exactly where, if you're on trash duty, that you know exactly where they're coming from. They're going to, like I said, just to the right of center is where they're going to drop down from. So I'm helping with trash. Beldarian is also doing that. Oh, and there's some look on the left of center too, just to the left and right of center. So you just saw one drop down, and he actually got to the lava and turned into that Forge Wraith, but I used Sunburst to kill him. Now we got skulls on the left, and you want to call that out. Groups will call that out. Skulls left, skulls right. That way the trash people know, and you can see there's one up top to take care of those. He's saved against my Sunburst. So we're going to be beating down the boss to about 70% health, and then he's going to take a smoke break, which he's doing right now. Now, one person needs to do these levers down below, okay? And what's going to happen now is the people who did the 4 lever puzzles up top will go back up and do those again. And the solutions to those lever puzzles will be different than they were the first round. So they need to go back to that center panel and check out that solution. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to a different video that shows these other levers down here, because in this particular instance I wasn't doing those, but in this other video that I want to show you I was. Okay, so here I'm going to be doing these lower levers, and this is a much simpler little puzzle than the puzzles up top. You can see they're all Roman numeral. You can see this is Roman numeral 8, and they all have Roman numerals in front of them. Okay, and when you pull these levers, they don't, the left and right levers don't toggle themselves. They actually toggle, or they don't toggle just themselves. They toggle themselves plus another lever. Then the center lever only toggles itself. And so that means that the way that you solve this isn't just pull all the levers. It's best to do it in a certain order, and that order is left. Do the left lever first, then the right lever, then the center lever. And what you're going for here is to get all of the levers facing toward you, facing away from the coolant tank. Also notice that there is a green signal crystal on this coolant tank telling you that that one's done already. You can see all these levers are already pointed towards me, so I don't need to do anything there. And while this is going on, trash is going to continue to spawn, and so since the boss isn't there right now, everybody who was working on the boss can just help with trash. Okay? There's going to be trash up top, so it's good to definitely send some trash people up top as well. In fact, you can just send your trash people up top and have the melee group work on trash down below. So here, Strimtom says, for colorblind folks, the green crystal has 4 points on it. I knew that there were some things in there for the colorblind, but I did not know what they were. Thank you, Strimtom, and welcome to my stream. So you can see that this signal crystal is red, which means this one's not done. Okay, you can see, remember I said all the levers have to be pointed towards you, away from the coolant tank. So what you want to do is, like I said, left, right, then center is the order in which you want to check them. If the left one's already pointed towards you, you don't need to do anything. Then you go to the right one. If the right one's already pointed towards you, then you don't need to do anything. In this case, it's pointed away, so I didn't have to touch the left lever because it was already pointed towards me. So I will do the right lever next and pull that one. And you'll notice that pulling the right lever also toggles the center lever. So then I'll have to pull the center, and the center only toggles itself. So do the left one first. If it's pointed away from you, pull it. If it's already pointed towards you, leave it. Then the right one. If it's pointed away from you, pull it. If it's already pointed towards you, leave it. Then the center one. If it's pointed away from you, pull it. If it's already pointed towards you, leave it. Once all three are pointed towards you, it's done, and the signal crystal will turn green. Left first, make sure it's towards you. Then right, make sure it's towards you. Then center, make sure it's towards you. All three are towards you. The light turns green, you're done. And there's no delay on this signal crystal like the ones up top. Once it's green, it'll stay green. So there's 1 on each side and 7 in the back. And once you do them, there should be, in this particular run, I don't know why, but there should have been a DM message saying like the coolant tanks are done, you know, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, that's how to do the coolant tanks. Now I'm going to switch back to the other video and finish the original run. Okay, so here we are back at the original video, and I was doing the top levers in this run. So now I'm going back upstairs, and remember that the solution changes between rounds. So I'm going back to number 2, and I'm writing down this combination. Now it's blue, yellow, red, 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 blue. So I'm going to write that down. 2 equals B, Y, R, 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 B. And then I just pull the left lever, notice which one it toggles, and then I keep pulling that until it gets the color I want. In that case, the first one pulled the second, or toggled the second one, and I kept pulling it until it turns yellow. Remember that you can just rapid click the lever. You don't have to actually wait for the animation. See, I rapid clicked through that. I didn't have to wait for the lever pulling animation to go to click it again. Once all the colors are correct, I pull the lever on the right, registering the combination. The signal crystal will always turn green, but in a few seconds it'll turn red if it was incorrect. So I want to make sure that it turns green and stays green. Now that mine's done, I can use my sunburst to insta-kill some Forge Wraiths. The boss is back now that the top levers are done. And same thing, this is just more of the same that you already saw. So we want to watch for skulls. You can see there's some skulls on the right. I'm throwing some sunbursts out there to insta-kill them. You know, if you don't have sunbursts, you can just DPS them down. And you're going to keep getting fleshies running in from behind, so you're going to watch out for those messages. So now we're going to beat the boss down to about 30% health, and then it's going to be another iteration where we got to do the levers, the coolant tanks down below, the levers up top. In addition to Forge Wraiths spawning from fleshies that reach the lava, you're also going to get Forge Wraiths that just spawn out of thin air, and they'll spawn like right here, you know, against the lava. Also, don't fall into the lava. You can fall over the grate and die. See the mobs falling in from above, and that one made it and turned into a Forge Wraith. So just threw a sunburst on it and killed him. Alright, the boss will be taking his second smoke break here in a moment, because we're going to beat him down to 30. There he goes. And now, same thing as before. The coolant tanks have to be done again down below, and the levers have to be done up top, except for because this is the final round, you just send your trapper up there, and they're going to do those trap boxes that I explained at the beginning. And remember to pull that 7th lever to register the combination, even if you do the trap box. Those trap boxes can only be done once per raid, so you save it for that 3rd round. You can see Gijo's up there. Well, now he's out of sight, but he's up there. Or Dr. Grub is up there doing them. So we got a Forge Wraith Giant. I don't know where he came from, if he just spawned outright or if he was something that evolved. But if you get a Forge Wraith Giant, you know, your melee group down below needs to be on them, and make sure you keep everything else away from them. And I would recommend taking Forge Wraith Giants out towards the lava, because if you have them, you know, over here, there could be, you know, mobs up top that are killed that you can't see down here, and if another Forge Wraith is killed near the giant, it'll heal the giant to full. So take the giant out to the, you know, the lava side, and make sure that, you know, that way you can get a better idea of what's around him. You don't want to you want to make sure you have no other Forge Wraiths around him. So like I said, if you kill another Forge Wraith around the giant, it will heal him to full, and they have a lot of hit points, and you know, can take a bit to DPS them down. Now I'm told that the boss will return for this 3rd round, even if you don't complete the levers up top. So, you know, you definitely don't have a lot of time to do those levers. It might be something like a minute, and he returns regardless of whether you finish the top levers. So get those. See, those Forge Wraiths just spawned out of thin air right there. So that's going to happen too. Now I'm going to be honest with you about something. I don't know exactly what the coolant tanks do. I don't know what happens if you don't do the coolant tanks. Like, I don't know mechanically what that controls in the raid. But I do know that the top levers, if you don't do them, that it starts this burning dot, like the lava is rising, and we all will start taking fire damage. And it stacks up to 25, that dot stacks up to 25 times and starts getting really, really painful. So that's what the levers up top do, but the coolant tanks down below, in terms of what that affects exactly, I'm not really sure. So if you know, you can make a comment. Once the boss is dead, all the trash will die. So, you know, the boss was almost dead there. We can see we had a giant, but we were just ignoring him because the boss was just at a sliver. And when the boss is dead, the raid is over, and you go upstairs and you collect your loot. So that's too hot to handle, guys. If you have any questions, you can make a comment. And thanks for watching.